Herbert, I am born again. I work as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I practice corporate commercial law, and I serve in AFLEWO as part of the choir, the worship leaders team, and part of the management team as well.
My name is Miriam. I am a communications practitioner. I practice corporate communication. I had him saying corporate law, so corporate communication. I am born again, and I'm glad to be here.
My name is Karen Kilwake. I'm born again. I am a youth advocate, so I work in child protection as a social entrepreneur in Machakos County.
Hi, my name is Gibson Older. If you like it, you can add Wesakania there. Born again, married to one wife, 3 children, 3 boys. And yeah, I'm by profession, I'm a journalist. Been there for some time now. That's what I do.
I actually heard about AFLEWO in 2004. I heard about it, I think, a day after the event. Someone shared an email and I discovered, oh, there was actually an event last night. So 2004, of course, I missed it. I was in the congregation in 2005, the choir in 2006, 2007, we were there freezing. Yeah. Freezing. I remember I was asking myself, I couldn't hear myself singing. I could hear more of my teeth, you know? So that was 2007. 2008, I took a break, came back 2009. 2010, took a break in 2011, came back in 2012. That's about 6 or so years, yeah. Been in the choir throughout, I've not, yeah.
I heard about AFLEWO through my sister Linda in 2013. So I guess that time it was being hosted at NPC then. Sadly, I sat in the overflow tent, so my first time was not my best time, but then I attended all through until 2016 when I served in ushering protocol 2 years. Then in 2019, I joined the choir.
The first time I heard about AFLEWO was around 2006, I think. It was through a friend in church. Introduced, said there's this worship experience that is happening, we can go. So I planned for it in 2007. I remember that is the time that I think we were in Nyayo Stadium. Yeah, that open field. I remember that day. It was so cold, but it was an awesome experience. So that's the first time I heard about AFLEWO. And after 2007, I relaxed. I didn't attend 2008 and the years that followed. I think I attended in 2012 and 2013, and then in 2014 I joined the choir. Yeah.
I first heard about AFLEWO in 2011 or 2012 from a friend in church. She serves in AFLEWO Nakuru, and so I made it, part of my bucket list to attend AFLEWO 2012 at Sitam Karen. So I came, and it was an interesting experience seeing so many people gather in what that time looked like a really small church, because we were really, really squeezed. And 8 p.m. came through and the church is already full. The MC announced that we were about 10K people inside there. By that time, we were already squeezed. The only space left was space to just move your hands, lift your hands. So yes, it was an interesting experience. It was amazing for me. I think what stood out for me that first time was the weight of God's presence. I'd never experienced that. So I left the event so charged. I was in campus at that time, so I went and slept. When I woke up, I was still, in a daze, and I really, I could not move past that experience. Yeah, so it was an amazing encounter.
Okay, beyond just, but the Father Me also just has a way of, there's something about that. First, how Reverend Tom there's a presence that just comes. So all AFLEWO, let's just say that's already the highlight, a moment. But I think for me, I'll speak about the process in terms of just the months, within which we are together. I have not been in AFLEWO the past few, so I'm not sure that it happens right now. But we used to have this very profound missions at the beginning. And for me, honestly, I used to ask myself, if I don't take advantage of this time, when else? Because as Mary, I feel, the Great Commission is something that you struggle with sometimes. And so for me, the missions were always such a highlight, that you would actually come from wherever you are, whether it is, whether it is this group, you're going as a group, or whether it is the whole, AFLEWO divided in different groups. For me, that was always a highlight in terms of just going to some of the most remote places. But in terms of the event, I remember, was it 2007? I think it was, because I remember, stadium, I think. AFLEWO is for everybody, because I remember, seeing this really old woman. It was really cold. I think it was around like 3, like when the cold is really at its best. And I saw, this old woman, and I think she had come with, I don't know who that person was to her, but there was a lady who was on a wheelchair. And for me, honestly, when I saw them, I just thought, they've actually made the time to come. It's no longer just about showbiz, because sometimes there's this thing of people thinking, oh, you're in AFLEWO, oh, you can sing. And then there's this hype around it. At that point, I looked and I said, these people know what they're actually seeking. And I always found myself during AFLEWO always trying to pick, those very rare people within the congregation. And honestly, for me, that one I've always remembered, because she could have been anywhere else. She's old, she's tired, it's 3 o'clock, it's very cold here at Nyayo Stadium. But for me, just seeing how people were weeping, and I remember they were actually lying on the grass. And I thought, wow, the presence of God was so heavy. That for me is something I still remember.
When I joined the choir, that was in 2014, I served there just for 1 year. And then 2015, I went into the support group. And of course, Nash told me, Gibu, you can pray, can't you? Okay, join the prayer guy. So I'm like, okay, Nash, you've already given me what to do. And for me, it was really a prayer answer, because even in where I fellowship in our church, I'm in the intercessors group. So for me, it was a good placement, and it was an awesome time to be in that area where many people really don't see. It is not a showbiz. It's not, you're not seen, you're in the background. So time for prayer. And when Christians are told to pray, it is something that is, you mumble 2-3 words and then, okay, when is this thing ending? But when you enter there and you have 3-4 guys praying and they're not stopping, you're challenged. You're challenged to go on and on, not just to repeat, but to pour your heart to God, and not only for yourself, but for that team that is out there ministering, the choir, the ministers and all that, and all people who are serving there. So for me, it was a very good experience. I remember in 2015 or 2016, I don't remember, if one of the years, it was in Karen, Sitam Karen, after I think after the what is it called? What Olito Akoke, that one. Yeah. Yeah, after the altar call. Not very many people came, but there were around 4-5. And after the prayer there, we took these guys into the prayer room. I just talked to them and just to hear the experience, because they've been born again. And there was one that stood out for me. I was like, this is not happening. We were talking to one guy, and he narrated his experience as a gangster. And he told us how he was stealing cars and killing people. And I was like, okay, this is not happening. And I realized that how AFLEWO is so important to, not just to us who are serving in the choir, in the prayer place, the ushers, and all people in the support team. It is for the people who are coming also. There are very many different people who are coming, and they have different needs. So for me, that was quite an experience to hear this story. Not that others were not touching, but he stood out. And he said he wants to change his life. And after that, I remember following up with him. I don't know where I lost him, but I hope he's in some church somewhere. But that was quite an experience to hear his story and just to pray with him that you will think that God cannot forgive this one. How? You've killed some people, you've stolen some cars, maybe you tried to steal mine sometime. So it is quite good just to be in the background, pray for guys, even before AFLEWO happens, when they are practicing the choir. So for me, it was a good experience that I had in 2015, 2016. Yeah.
Let me start from ushering. When I ushered in 2017, we were in Winners Chapel. And I guess that time was crazy. Crazy because I figured there are Christians who actually need to get born again. It was rough. everyone wants to get in. There's a special door for special pastors. We love, faith, hope. And if one gets in through wisdom, there was a lot. And so that time, God just used that experience to teach me how to submit to authority, because I've grown up being a leader since I was very young. And so to be at a place where I'm being told things I need to do, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense because why? You know why? And that time was rough. But then God taught me to just learn how to submit to authority. And so after that experience, I was like, nah, I'm moving to the choir, because they look like they were getting special treatment. Even during like the Kesha, where you have the Friday before the event, the choir are inside there. Us, we're in some dark room trying to figure out if people will get, I don't know, tags. And so, yeah, that's how I transitioned to the choir. And so at that time, definitely, as I said, my friend Shadrach, he is a musician. He sings, leads worship in his church from St. Paul's. We had said we're going to join the choir one day. Tukiwa first year, we're going to join the choir one day. Year 2, we're going to join the choir one day. Year 3, until the time I came to the audition. And the administrator, please remind me her name? Kathy. When I got to the desk to get into the audition, she said, "You're Karen, you've been registering 3 years. Finally, you're here," because I used to register and not show up. And so we got to that point during auditions, and then they said we need to group up and then enter like in teams of 4. That's a difficult moment, because there are people who've been in AFLEWO or Henga or AFLEWO, you know. They've been here since, I don't know, 2052 or 5. And so them, they're already grouped, you know. Some say, oh, we are an all-boy group, so they don't want anyone. And then you're the newbie, you need to figure out, so how does this work? And so that was a bit difficult, because people already know each other, and so you're trying to figure out. And so, of course, all the newbies, we came together and we were like, okay, which voice do you sing? Which voice do you sing? And then we went in and auditioned, and it was amazing, because that's where you now start to learn how just unity comes into play, even when we, as the body of Christ, we're just called to serve together. And yeah, auditioned, and then they actually tell you, okay, this is it, and this is how it is. And then, of course, you get there, you're in the choir, 3,000, and it was amazing. And then we had a time to practice, and I think for me, the highlight should be the commissioning before the service, because that's just like, you know, like you're gonna lay everything with your mucus and tears and just show up and tell God, you know, use me just as an empty vessel, because I don't want to be full of myself. And so for me, commissioning service every day, all day. Yeah.
There are quite a number of highlights from just my time in AFLEWO. I think when I joined in 2013, because of the excitement, myself and another choir member decided that we'd be standing the whole night. Even when the rest of the choir was seated, our psyche was so much that we were going to stand the whole night. So we did ministry 2013, full night. So in the morning, just as the last prayer was about to be said, the choir started singing Kegosho songs. And because at some point during the night, we had some guys fixing our stage while we were on it. We were just like, okay, hii stage sasa ianguke, inaweza anguka sasa. Tumeshafika asubuhi. So, I mean, we started singing, started jumping. And then I remember this pastor, he walked up to where the stage was. He was in full white, and he came and told us, you guys have done a great job. And as you guys were ministering, I could see the angel of the Lord just dancing above the stage. So all of us immediately looked up. so and he's like, no, like you can't see. Then he started praying over us. And I remember him prophesying and saying, some of you will travel. Some of you will travel. if you don't have a passport, prepare. And I was just like, okay, that's a bit off. But I felt a witness in my spirit that was, if it was not for anyone else, it was for me. So we finished AFLEWO 2013, did our set down. So when I went back to school, I was in third year. Third year. I was in third year. A lady randomly approached me. She was in fourth year of law school and told me, there's this competition that's happening. I want you to participate. So it was a bit of a tall order for me, knowing that it required a lot of time, a lot of work. So, but I got a teammate and we started preparing. So ideally how it would happen, you'd have internal rounds and then lecturers would choose which team would show up for the competition at the very end. So we prepared. On the day of the internal rounds, we showed up with my teammate. Shock on us when it was just us. There was no other team that showed up. Nobody else had prepared. So our lecturer told us, okay, you guys are the ones who are going to represent Catholic University in this competition. But she'd now pit us against each other. So eventually we did our submissions. She took them, marked them. Then we submitted them to our University of Pretoria. They were the ones who are looking at those and assessing. So they looked at them. Then a few weeks later, they told us that we'd be traveling to SA to represent our school. So when I got to SA, I remember thinking, I've not worked really hard to get here, but this prophecy is coming to pass. And this is one of the few times that I've gotten a chance to travel outside Kenya. And I was really just asking God, so what is this about? But at the baseline, his word came to pass. Because of a word that was spoken, we were quite of 800 people, but I received that word. And that was profound for me. So that was the beginning of many other experiences that I've had in AFLEWO. So that was quite a highlight for me.
And of course, 2013, where Herbert, the first time that he came, I think, you said 2013? Yeah. That was an experience and a half. I remember I was in the congregation also that year, and I came with my son, my firstborn son. That was 2013. He was 3 years old. Yeah. And I told the mother, like, okay, I'm going for AFLEWO, so you guys remain at home. She said, no, you're going for AFLEWO, we are going also. So I had to tag them along. I was like, okay, now the place I've been told already on Twitter, it's full. Where we're really going to sit and all that. But luckily we found a stair and sat there with my son, and it was quite an experience. I remember, I think there was a minister from Nigeria or something like that who shared together with Kaberia, and that was an experience. The choir was awesome, from the uniform and everything, and the BGVs and the people who led. It was awesome. And the presence of God. That was quite a good experience for my son, 3 years old, and I'm there with him taking selfies. That was good. Yeah.
Okay, let me start with my first time leading in 2017. So this was my first time. I was given a set. I was told, you're going to be leading this set together with Wanja, my co-worship leader at that time. I'd served in the choir, I'd served as a BGV. And at those times you tell yourself, this thing we can do. We can do leading, 10,000 people, what? You can do this. But getting on stage and doing our first song, and sound was not working out. So I have a mic. We're in Winners Chapel. The church is almost full. It's about 9 p.m. I'm trying to cue the songs and it's not working. And I'm wondering, so do we stop? Do we pray? Do we take people into a time of prayer, or just distract people until the sound team can get their stuff together? So that for me was a low, because it was the first time, but then it didn't start on a high. It was quite a low moment. I think the other low moments have been sometimes getting to approach people. I think when you get into AFLEWO, you just get into this zone of you're going to do everything and anything to make AFLEWO work. Mm-hmm. It's a brand, you're going to run with it to your workmates, your family, and going out there and asking people for finances, and then they ask you, what's AFLEWO? How does AFLEWO help me? Then when you think about what AFLEWO stands for and the tools that AFLEWO uses, music and prayer, So you're wondering, am I going to tell this pastor that we'll pray for you? Or we'll sing for you?